First thing we want to do is welcome new members. We're happy for anyone who's joining us. We really appreciate it. I want to mention a couple folks. That would be Taryn Graham of Canada is joining us from the Canadian Literacy Foundation, and Claudia Aristi works at Bellevue Hospital in the pediatric department there, and she is also with Reach Out and Read. We're happy you're here. We move on to our first bit of news, a new Chinese study, hidden costs of screen time, altered brain network efficiency in children with autism spectrum disorder. We thank Janet Courtney for bringing this to us. She's a U.S. gaining member. Uh, there are 164 Chinese children in the study. All have a diagnosis of ASD. They are aged 2 years old to 66 months, and all of them went through fMRI testing. And here's the findings. Prolonged screen time is associated with altered functional connectivity in networks supporting social communication and language processing. The findings provide neurobiological basis for clinical observations linking screen time to symptom severity. This is autism symptom severity. They say in the study there's value in incorporating media use assessments into developmental evaluations. So when the children come in, these toddlers come in looking autistic, to go ahead and do a media use assessment. That's how strongly they feel about this. And they say identifying children with high screen time could help clinicians provide targeted guidance and potentially mitigate the negative impacts on neural network organization. So this is interesting because in other research that we have in our research list, it shows that intervening with these children and reducing screen time does have a real effect on their brain development, and they can return to normal trajectory. So this is a very important study, and we'll add it to our list. In November, we reported the American Academy of Pediatrics Social Media Excellence Center had come out with an early childhood development and screen time toolkit. At that time, we noted some differences in their guidance from previous guidance. They started to say that infants under 18 months do not learn from digital media, but it's not harmful for them to occasionally watch brief high-quality videos such as PBS Kids and Sesame Street. We know in 2016 they said that under 18 months children should avoid watching media. But in this case, they said it's okay to occasionally, quote unquote, watch brief high-quality videos. There is no research associated with this. And they say that for young children, limiting to 1 to 2 hours a day of viewing can help ensure they are building meaningful connection with others and exploring the world around them. It used to be that ages 2 to 5 was 1 hour per day. So basically, they've doubled the amount of time they believe the children can watch high quality content. They also, in November, we told you about a handout that they have for parents called Stop, Wait, and Go. The stop is, avoid the media. The yellow light is occasional treats. And then green is go, good stuff. So we noticed they went beyond Sesame Street and PBS Kids and included Blue's Clues, Tumbleleaf, Ms. Rachel, and Bluey. So it is interesting to note these commercial offerings, and some have been identified as having persuasive design techniques built in. Then we move on to today's news, which is the AAP's come out with a policy statement on digital ecosystems, children and adolescents. And in fact, they do talk about the digital ecosystem, including engagement-based designs that are immersive, pervasive, and commodified. That's commercial. And so it's not helpful anymore to talk about screen time. Don't need to think about screen time for families to manage, basically, is what they're saying. And they're saying that intentionally designed around engagement and commercialization, the ecosystem is shaped by industry incentives and lies largely outside the control of individual families. It implies that families are somewhat powerless to do anything about this ecosystem. They do use a holistic approach here. They include recommendations and statements for parents, caregivers, policymakers, and digital media companies. And they have some very good suggestions for families, including no screens in the bedroom, turn TV off when not viewing, having a shared family tablet, not giving kids individual tablets. And they say a child will not miss out on learning opportunities if families delay giving a child a tablet. So that's going to be really helpful for parents to hear. They also talk about technoference, which they describe as frequent digital media disruptions of caregiver-child interactions associated with child behavioral challenges. And they go ahead and list the categories that we talk about here at Gaining of harm that can happen to children's developmental health. That would include language delays, cognitive, social, emotional, executive functioning, fine motor development, problems, as well as poorer sleep, less reading, and less pretend play. We noted some soft language in what's written here in the policy statement. They call persuasive design and addictive design engagement-based design, which is a pretty neutral way of describing those techniques. And they also say, ask a question, are children using media for calming? Well, it would seem that the parents that would give the children the media for calming. So where is the parent in that discussion? Are children using media for calming? We go on, and on a positive note, they encourage caregivers to model healthy habits from infancy through adolescence. Bravo for that. But there's almost no specific guidance for children under 2 years old. They say infants under 18 months struggle to transfer information from a screen to the real world because of immature cognitive processing. There are no specific screen time guidelines in the policy statement, and the statement no longer contains language uh, that video calls are okay for infants and babies. Under the recommendations for children, teens, and families, they do say video chatting can provide opportunities for bi-directional interactions for children. Okay, so it's given in the umbrella language there. Now we're going to talk about the technical report. This technical report is available through a link in the policy statement. So if somebody reads the technical report, it's much more detailed and much longer. Some of the things in there are somewhat contradictory. Infants do not learn from digital media, but occasionally viewing brief high-quality videos such as Sesame Street is not detrimental. Again, no research associated with that statement. But they also say infants younger than 18 months are less likely than older children to learn from digital media. Oops. Now we're loosening up that language a little bit from do not learn to are less likely to learn. In the technical report, they do mention video chatting. For infants and young children, using video call systems to speak with and see family members can be positive experiences. Then they say, if caregivers want recommendations for a specific screen time limit, in other words, don't tell them, but if they ask, you can tell them this. Practitioners can discuss limits that fit a family's routine. Time limits might range from less than an hour a day for toddlers and preschoolers to 1 to 2 hours, there's that doubling, or more of entertainment media for school-age children and teens. What? They went from 1 to 2 hours of high-quality content to entertainment media straight up or more? I think this is a typo or some mistake, but there it is. And then more in the technical report that's contradictory. They say for children who watch videos to fall asleep, consider meditation apps. They said very clearly in the statement, children should not use any media at bedtime. And again, where is the caregiver's role? They say infant with colic and fussier infants may also be exposed to greater digital media for soothing. They may be soothed by their caregivers by digital media. So again, these children are not soothing themselves with this. And then some things of interest specifically to Gaining members from the technical report. We can feel good about this because our awareness alerts include this information already to fund pro-social spaces, and that's what they consider in-person supports for families, adequate childcare, opportunities for extracurriculars, paid parental leave. They say they're critical. There should be greater investment in libraries, green spaces, community centers that provide enrichment, social activities, and physical activity that can crowd out digital experiences. So that we can feel good that is confirmed. The second thing, AAP recommends convening a group of diverse families, child development experts, pediatric providers, policymakers, and digital companies to create a consensus statement on creating a child-centered digital ecosystem. Later, we can discuss whether we can volunteer for this consensus statement. There is a mention of autism in the technical report, and here it is. I'm going to read it. Teens who experience challenges with emotion regulation, executive function, and impulsivity, that is ADHD, or social interactions, autism spectrum disorder, may experience more adverse effects from digital media. So it's a mouthful, but the point is they're saying that teenagers with autism spectrum disorder may experience more adverse effects from digital media. So that's a foot in the door in the discussion. Is screen time at all related to autism or ADHD? And then here it is. Yes, they may experience more adverse effects from digital media if they have autism as a teen. The fourth thing is emergent work has identified symptoms of problematic internet use as early as toddlerhood. Thanks to our gaining member, Caroline Fitzpatrick, who has done research to show for preschoolers, the use of mobile devices for calming is associated with weaker emotion regulation skills and problematic media habits. In the technical report, there's no guidance on the symptoms of problematic media use or treatment for problematic media use. But it's very interesting. They're talking about problematic media use and internet use as young as toddlerhood in this document. So that's very good for us to realize in further discussions and further things that we write. There's some corroboration here in this document. So that's it for that. And we're going to move on now to gaining priorities. And what we see is that we the last meeting that we had, we identified some priorities. And this first one is reaching parents prenatally with information about early brain development and how technology use can interfere with baby's best development. And there's a new effort started by the Early Childhood Work Group of the Screen Time Action Network, which is an advocacy group here in the US that's a part of a group called Fair Play. And they're developing a kit for prenatal parents to be distributed by prenatal providers with the goal of extra intervention around excessive and harmful technology use. They're seeking 3 to 5 pilot organizations to provide feedback and try out the kits. And the first planning meetings are February 23rd and 26th. So I'm going to attend those meetings and I'll let you know at our next meeting what happened. But maybe they can use some pilot organizations and maybe some of our members can help them out. We told you in January about a new technoference website by the New Jersey Department of Children and Families. They've had some CDC grant funding and they use that to create a really interesting PSA that we told you about in January of a referee coming out and calling tweet technoference on adults that are using their phones when they're actually supposed to be relating to each other. So that's great. We reached out to them after they did the PSA and had a discussion. Now they're going to create some educational content for parents or providers around parent technoference. They want to share that through early childhood realms and family home nursing visits for babies. And they may be creating some more video content, which would be amazing. They want us to be a part of this. So I'll keep you informed about that. We already know that one of our gaining members is the group from the National Center for Protection of Addictions in Luxembourg would like to help with this type of parent information. So thank you for that, and hopefully others will be involved also. Another priority was training the trainers, and that is to help people that work with young children, all sorts of different professionals, understand about the new research and about how technology use can interfere with healthy development. And our group, our gaining member, Florida Association for Infant Mental Health, Christine, is thinking about doing some serious training here that can be used by professionals. And she wants to work with us and draw on expertise from our presentations and to collaborate with us and possibly the Alliance for Infant Mental Health. So we'll see where that leads, but we're very grateful for FAME helping us out with this. And now we reach the third priority, which is the reference repository, or uh, a place where we can keep track of what we're all doing. We are so impressed and happy with how much is going on. Now we're going to try to organize it a little better so people can refer to it, get in contact with each other, and that sort of thing. So we have a new gaining member. Her name is Lauren Payer. She's with us, and she's going to tell us all about how she thinks that we can create this repository. So I would like to see if Lauren, would you come forward, please, and talk to us? And we can't wait to hear from you.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to meet you all. Jennifer and I, way back in the day, were working in a smaller group on infant mental health, and I'm so impressed and pleased to see what Jennifer has put together with this coalition from 42 different countries, all focused on this really important issue. It's been amazing to see how much awareness there is now about teen mental health and social media. And I think young children is next because it's so important. It lays the foundations and the awareness is growing, but I nothing like teenagers. And so I feel like you all are doing incredibly important work. Um, so repository is one way to say it. Another, we were talking about calling it gaining happenings, Jennifer, which I think is a little more fun. But we're curious what you all think. And basically, we have a few questions before we've made like two different templates to get your feedback on, but we kind of want to talk about the goals of these before showing the template and get your all input on what would be helpful for you. So one of them is just events going on. If there's a conference, if there's an important talk, and maybe it's between meetings, or maybe you forgot to mention it at a meeting, having a place where it'd be really easy for you to just fill out a quick form, then it auto-populates into a spreadsheet that everyone has access to so that everyone could scroll through the different events going on around the world related to young children and screen time. Another thought we were having was on research. So we'd be curious to hear your thoughts there. We know there are a lot of researchers in the group. This is like slightly trickier in that we'll show you the templates, but the Gaining Happenings template might not be detailed enough for creating a research repository. I know researchers are, the details are very important, the design is very important. So we're sort of curious if you would also be interested in having a way to share different research that you learn about or that's going on in your country, and what kind of information you'd want to have, what sort of format that might look like. And lastly, just if there's anything else, like those kind of events, even webinars, research for some of the things that came to mind for us that you might want to learn about from different members. I'm curious before we go forward, are there other uh, topics, other categories of happenings that you might all want to be able to share about and learn about from other gaining members?
Um, I'm just wondering if there's any interest in categorizing the happenings through from our goals. I'm not necessarily in favor of it, but I'm just thinking, is that something we would want to consider, happenings regarding training the trainers or happenings regarding early childhood, parent at prenatal and very early parental infant education. Does that, I don't know if that makes sense or if it limits it too much, because then, we don't know that there's always going to be happenings in each category and it might look like there's not as much going on. But just a thought process, because if there's anybody that is particularly interested in moving forward, one particular goal of the three that Jennifer mentioned, if that makes sense at all. Just throwing it out there.
What do others think? Good question.
Well, I think it's important to consider because we are going, one of the things I wanted to discuss after this was how we involve our members in the priorities. So let's say somebody says, oh yeah, we've already got, I don't know, they may want to contribute in some way, either their time or their resource and say, hey, here's this. And so it might be that we need maybe a project working document or something like that, Lauren.
And would that be in addition to the happenings?
It would be a special bucket for the happenings, I think, like an ongoing place, like a reverse chronological place where, people are putting things on there. It does sound a little bit squishy, but
I mean, one way it could be incorporated, and maybe now is a good time to start sharing it's a pretty simple form, but the nice thing about the form, Google Forms can auto-populate to a spreadsheet, so we could all view the spreadsheet easily. Um, we could make a question that is like, does this relate to priority one, priority two, priority three, none of the above? But then you would have to just organize the spreadsheet by priority if that's what you're interested in, because the entries are just going to be in the order people share them in, so it wouldn't automatically be organized by priority, if that makes sense. Any last thoughts before I show the our mock-up of any other information you might want to share with each other or, be informed of by other gaining members?
okay, why don't you just, are you able to share your screen?
Yeah.
I guess we can discuss afterwards.
Sharing is not turned on. Send request. Okay, just sent a request. Okay. Okay, can everyone see it?
Yep.
Okay, so it's pretty simple again. You put in your first name, last name, email, country, city. We felt like this was important in case it's an in-person event. I live in Hawaii in the USA. If something's going on in New York versus Honolulu, that's pretty relevant. Profession, title, organization, affiliation. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. This is the wrong form. This is our contact info form. So sorry about that. Happenings. Okay. So name, city, town, country. We're gonna do a drop down. We just started with the US, India, and France, but the idea is to have a drop down for all of the countries represented here. Um, Happening. So research project, upcoming event, past event, action, and initiative. So I forgot those. If there is an action that you want gaining members to take, an initiative is a little broader than that. The date that's happening, if applicable, a short description of what's happening. If you are directly involved, in some cases, you'll just be letting the group know of something that's happening. In another case, you might be an organizer of the event or happening. And then also if you're looking for collaborators or assistants so that members of the group could potentially help you, And if you are, providing a short description of what you need so that other members can get a sense of if they have a skill set that would be relevant or helpful if they're interested. So, any feedback or thoughts on, is it a reasonable length? Is there anything you think is important that we left off? Do you think this would be helpful as a way to share about things going on within the community?
So, so Lauren, first of all, I'm so appreciative of everything you're doing. It's really amazing because this does help everybody understand, what is going on, what is happening. Would it be shared like this, or would somebody write a blurb on it, like based on this information?
It would be shared like this, and a great thing with um, Google Forms is that it automatically creates a spreadsheet. So we could give the group a spreadsheet. So all of the entries get entered into a spreadsheet and it happens automatically so that no one here has to do the manual work of copying and pasting every input.
Can you just go down to the description of what it says about, oh, description of
Description
what
of
is
the
happening?
happening.
Is there any, uh, is that like a recommended, like a paragraph or?
That's a good question. We are leaving it sort of open-ended. In parentheses, we could put, it could even be a sentence or two depending on the event. Or it could be a paragraph. Do folks think it would be helpful to give a little guidance, like in a parentheses, please share a few sentences, or
Well,
I mean,
Lauren, confirming this is a endless, I mean, people could write as much as they want here, right?
yeah, you could write a novel. I mean, it's not the easiest format for writing a novel, but you could do it. So yes, no limit.
Mhm.
I think it's nice the way it is because it allows people to share as much as they want. They have their contact information. Um, and you did say if there's an action,
Yeah, down here, well, are you looking for collaborators or
right?
assistants?
So in that they can say, yes, please contact me. We're, looking for people in person to present or whatever it is. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think it's fabulous.
Great. Anyone else? Thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. Anyone have any constructive feedback or just thoughts you want to share about this? Do people think this would be helpful?
In the chat, few people have said they think it's helpful and nice.
Great.
Uh, where would we, so circling back, is there a way that the priorities can fit into this? I don't really see it. It would probably be under the
Well,
drop down or something.
I think we'd ask another question.
Mhm.
Um, I wonder maybe it would be closer. So it's like the happening, description of happening. Maybe after the description of happening, there'd be a question like, does this fall under priority one? And then like name it because people maybe don't have the priorities memorized, priority two. So those, it could be a like a multiple choice question.
Can you go up to the, just real quick, and then Ahmed has a question, but go down a little bit to the kind of the drop down or the boxes you can check about what it is, activity or something. Okay, research project, upcoming event. I'm just wondering if we put gaining priority one, two, or three just there as an individual thing.
I would vote for a separate question because I could see multiple different happenings being connected to a priority, right? Like there could be a research project on getting information out to OBGYNs, or there could be like an action where like, please share this card that you've been working on with OBGYNs in your community. Does that make sense? It seems a
Was
little bit different to me.
Yeah, or would it be like, is this associated with, and then any of the priorities, and then it could go into the bucket with them, like under each individual happening.
Right, right. That's what I'm thinking of having like a new question, for example. Okay, so this has the description of happening. Um, does this happening pertain to, priority one, priority number two?
And then we'll have to write them out, whatever they are. Because yes.
Right, we will write them out, you're right. But for
Yeah.
this, and then just
And
other
I'd almost
like
rather not number them because I mean, I'd almost rather just have a little blurb. Does this relate to um, training the trainers and maybe explaining that? Or because I don't want people to think like we're prioritizing. If we number them, people might think, oh, that's our top priority, but it's not. These are all our priorities.
yeah, that makes sense. And I'll confess, and I know the OBGYN one is another one. I don't have your priorities memorized just yet, so I was partially just putting it in there
Would be
for
prenatal
Prenatal
awareness,
parent
parent
awareness. Yeah.
prenatal
awareness.
awareness. It's it's for parents, but it's also for the people that work with parents, right?
Yes. So I think they might be two
Parental and
separate
provider awareness,
things. They
maybe.
might be two separate things.
Oh,
Are they
prenatal
two separate
parent
things?
awareness.
Um, well, getting it out directly to parents and then provider awareness might be a separate one. I mean, I'm not sure because some of the things that we'd like to do, we'd like to be collaborating with doulas, OBGYN, other individuals that go into the home really early on or even have contact prenatally. Um,
True. To me, well, and this is not my argument. To me, it's like kind of an umbrella of the same priority because you're going to those providers to get to the parents. But that's something that we can discuss later. And if you all feel like it's two priorities, we can certainly make it that. Um,
well, just getting it down is good.
okay.
I don't think.
Mhm.
And the third priority, Jennifer, what
It
was?
was going to be what we're working on right now, which is creating the rest. So we don't, maybe it's
Yeah.
not a priority to list here.
Okay, yeah, that probably makes sense.
The training the trainers is provider awareness. And so that's why it's kind of a blend that the prenatal provider awareness is specifically on specific providers in prenatally, whereas training the trainers is for daycare center operators and speech language pathologists and everybody who's actually um child infant facing and baby facing in their uh
So
position
infant
and
and baby
profession
facing providers.
under prenatal parenting one. Maybe get specific about it there. Yeah.
Sorry, what did you want me to put in this one?
Is that what you're thinking, Karen? I'm not sure.
Oh, I'm not so concerned about whether we include provider awareness if it's specifically prenatal. It's fine if people, uh, do other people have opinions on how to word that? It doesn't really matter to me as long as it's focusing on the prenatal end of things, because
What
I
about just
understand what
putting,
Lauren's saying. It does mesh both. But when
what
we're
about
talking about the training the trainers, we're talking about infants, toddlers. We're not talking about prenatal. So it makes sense the way it is, I think.
what about just taking away parental? So just prenatal awareness, because we are, since there are like
Yeah,
multiple.
that's great.
Okay. Oops.
Now, Amit has been trying to say something. Karen, did you want to say anything else before we go to him?
Nope.
Okay. So, Amit, what are you thinking?
Ma'am, basically, I'm also thinking like, can we add, like, just we added that parental, sorry, parental training kind of thing, the thing we just added as the priority two.
Is that a
Because as
priority?
we last discussed in our last meeting we discuss about that also. Like we also discuss that on mail.
You
So,
mean parents after they've just parents of young children?
Yeah, both. Like to the parents who's going to be first time parents, and the parents who are already dealing with the children with special needs, we can add both of them. Like the thing we are talking about, like OBGYN, so we can take both of them.
and kind of any parents who are struggling with this issue too, right? Even if
Well, we know that there are existing resources that are out there
No,
for those parents that we have on our website, such as they're called the screen time
mhm.
and toddlers and screen time. Lauren, help me out. What are those
um
called?
the early childhood, well, the screen aware early childhood action kit is
Yeah, no,
one.
the other one with the speech language pathologist.
Oh, that is
Bed screen time for baby, screen time for
well,
toddler.
it's babies, toddlers, and it's not screen time. Is it screen aware also? No.
Mm-mm.
Oh, I should know that.
Mhm.
Now Claudia's on the line. She has joined us. She's the one from Bellevue that we welcomed at the beginning of our meeting. She's joined us now. I think you're still there. You use that, right, at your to give to parents before the babies are born?
Hi everyone, nice joining you. And I'm sorry I joined you late, but I had a really good reason. Today I was working with our prenatal patients, introducing them to the topic of the importance of stimulating the baby during pregnancy, talking, reading, and singing, and planting that little seed that this is how babies learn in the context of love and how those devices do not have a place within that relationship. So that's why I was late. I had a wonderful couple who took a little bit longer, but it was a beautiful interaction. And I do use the handouts that Jen is referencing right now, but we use it once the baby is born. So, but the information about the importance of being aware of the impact of screen times in general is sprinkled throughout our interactions with families from the prenatal stage until the baby is 1 year of age. And that is specific handout, we use it at the 2 month checkup because by 2 months, the baby is more alert. Before that, they're very sleepy, during the day. So they might not be looking out for what mommy or daddy are looking at in terms of their devices. But once they're more alert, they start paying attention, right, to what is in your hand. Let me see. Why are you so interested in that little square piece of metal? um, so that's when we introduce the tech wise.
Right, Be Tech Wise is the series.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he emphasizes more how you can be a positive role model for your baby in the ways you model the use of technology and how babies learn, as we all know, from having those surf and return interactions, right? And that when you are distracted by a particular screen, you are not, unfortunately, paying attention to the baby's cues and all of that. So we use that one at the 2 month checkup, but we do a lot of other touch points in which we check in to see how they might be integrating technology, because if they have older children, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult. It's a little bit more difficult because it's the siblings who, then are the ones using their devices. But I'll stop there. But it's a pleasure meeting all of you and being able to share a little bit about what we do here. And at another meeting, I will be sharing some of the feedback that we are getting from parents about the gaining car. I show it to some of the moms today during the prenatal sessions, but I want to also show it to a few. I printed it out in English and Spanish, so I want to get feedback from both. And I'll be happy to type that up, share it with Jen, and that way she can share it with the larger group.
Mhm. Thank you. And just to confirm, Claudia, you don't show screen-wise with baby before the baby's born with the parents.
No.
Okay, so at the age, the 2-month checkup. Okay, so I
Yes.
misspoke about
So
that.
we mentioned it, and it really is amazing how it comes up in different ways and forms, but we don't you have a hint that was specific about screen time during the prenatal. Because is that what you're asking
Yeah,
about?
I am
Yeah.
asking about that.
Yeah, no. So we don't have a specific handout that we use in the prenatal stage that just addresses that topic. We do bring it up in the context of also, making more emphasis on what to do, not so much on know what to do. You know what I mean? Because they seem to be more receptive that way, but we sprinkle it there. So it's like once we have our way in and they're receptive, then we explain the why, you know, and how the cautionary tale too. A couple of weeks ago, we actually had a family who they're pregnant again, and now with their 2-year-old, the mom was saying how sorry she is that she actually started introducing the device to her daughter and how she regrets it so much because it started with what at the time was 15 minutes to keep her quiet, so mommy could do a couple of things in the house, which we totally understand, right? But now those 15 minutes have increased to 2 hours in a day, and how she has seen this affecting her behavior. Of course, we know this, right? And how she is having more temper tantrums every time the device is being taken away. And her language development has been affected as well because she is not talking, she is not interacting. All she wants to do is be stuck to the device. So we had to have a full intervention with her and help her figure out ways on how to address that important issue.
Karen, I think she has something to
Oh,
say here.
Claudia, I just, first of all, I'm so glad to meet you and hear what you're doing. And can you just explain to me, and I might have missed it at the beginning, or is it through a pediatric practice, through an outreach? What is it through
So
that you're able to do this?
yes, thank you. So I'm the director for the Reach Out and Read program at Bellevue Hospital in New York City. So you probably are aware of Reach Out and Read because it's a well-established early literacy program that promotes early relational health, right? Using books. So that's our hub. And then what we have done here is that we have extended the reach of the program by creating these other programs. So the program I'm describing in the prenatal stage is called My Reading Promise. So that's basically asking these parents not only to make a promise, but to deliver it throughout the pregnancy. And so we take advantage of when patients are here for their checkups. So it's a captive audience. They're here for their appointments, whether it's a prenatal checkup or if once the baby is born and they come to the pediatric clinic, then we see them during their well child visits. So our education is it's based on their time of their schedule appointments.
Thank you. And thank you so much for expanding it, including the tech-wise information, because it does go hand in hand.
Yep. Yep. And one of the ways I also like this morning I was telling the parents, we give them of course a book in the package that we give to the families. We try to target the families around 20 weeks of gestation because we know that's when the baby can hear. So we can start anywhere between 18 to 20 weeks. All of the families that I talked to today were 20 weeks, 19 one and the other one's 20 weeks. And we said, by starting these positive routines now during pregnancy means that it'll be easier to continue them once the baby is born. And these are routines that you're going to be so proud to tell everybody, that you're going to say, my child loves reading because we've been doing it since she was in my belly, you know? I said, but I'm sure that no one is proud to say, "Oh, my child spends 2 hours in front of a screen." No one is proud of that, and we all know the struggles that come with that in terms of interpersonal relationships and learning and attention and so many other things. And they all agree, say, "Oh, yeah, we see it with other families. No, we don't want that for our baby." I say, "Yeah, I know what you want for your baby is the best, and here is how you can do it."
Mhm. Beautiful. Okay, Claudia, thank you so much for coming and for your comments and your help. And maybe you can be one of those centers that tries
Um,
out the
sure.
the
Amit
package.
is asking if we can share it. Are you talking about the TechWise handout, Amit? I think it's in the website for on the website for you.
Right, on the Gaining website, you'll see the both there. There's a couple of tech-wise
There's
handouts
one
there.
for infants and babies, yes, and then there's another one for toddlers.
I
Right.
think Jennifer was also talking about a card that you all have been working on. Is that right, Jennifer? When you're
Right.
talking about piloting?
It's on the website and Claudia is showing it to her families there. And by
Oh,
next meeting, she's going to have more information about how it's being received.
so
Okay,
she
so
is
we,
already our first pilot,
yeah, well, she kind of,
kind of.
she was kind enough to do that. And so, yeah, she's really helping out. So I appreciate that so much.
I just
And
think
we,
it's important, to be able to ask the audience, the intended audience, what do you think about this? What are the main takeaways? Is it too much? Is it too little? What is the information you would want to see? Because in my personal feedback about the car is that I feel it has a little too much in our effort because we're so passionate about making sure this doesn't happen, right? Sometimes we provide, and in my years working with families, I have always been very careful. Where is that fine balance where we can lose people by giving too much, or we capture them and then disperse the information a little bit at a time in different ways? Because what we want to do is capture them and then hook them and say, okay, next time I'm going to give you a little bit, but I know that the way my program has been built, we have that. In other places, they might not. But then it's figuring out different ways in which it can be, you know, share in small chunks, especially in this time and age. Keeping people's attention is really hard. It's really hard. So we got to be very strategic about the way that information is being provided so that it's effective. If you give me a paper and because I'm overwhelmed with the amount of information, I end up throwing it, it doesn't serve the purpose. It's beautiful. I love the colors. I love the colors, and it's visually like, oh, I wonder what this is. But it's finding that balance of what information to share and when.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
Looking
thank you,
forward to
Claudia.
getting the feedback because I share your concerns with that.
Okay.
Yep. I'm also asking another person who runs an advocacy group called the Four Norms. He's also made comments on it, so we can pull those together. But I'm so happy because right, there's a lot on the back of that card. So Lauren, we are at time, and so I think we've had a good discussion about that form. We're now going to discuss a few more things about the priorities and some other things that I want to share with these guys. Was there some last minute thing you wanted to say
The last
about the form?
the last thing I wanted to ask is if people think that the forum is an appropriate place to share new research, or given what we were talking about earlier, sometimes you want to give more detailed information about the research. What was the finding? How many participants? Were there noteworthy things about the study design? So we don't have to talk about exactly what that would look like, but I'm just curious if people think, no, it's okay, the form can be enough to just kind of say the name of the research paper, very basic information, or do folks think that having a different format that would allow for more detail be something that you all would want and would be valuable?
Well, we do have a section where we include links to research papers. So if they're really critical, important, I believe we are. Jennifer, are we updating? Because particularly that paper that you talked about today, that talked about the fMRI, correlating to, the screen time, social emotional findings.
Mhm.
Um, are we adding those like
Yep.
critical papers, really important papers to
After you,
our,
yeah, if we agree that they're worth it, and yes, I do believe that the one that Janet shared was definitely worth it. So yeah, in that way, Karen, we're not doing it on a daily basis, but we
right?
do regular updates to the research.
So for like landmark articles,
Mhm.
we have a place where we're putting them, but for people in the group that want to share what they're doing, I think it's a reasonable place to do it in your form, so that everybody's aware and maybe perhaps, after that going forward, they want to expand it, they want collaborators, and they can find international collaborators through doing that within the gaining organization.
Okay. So just keep it as it is with research being a happening that you can include and
Yeah.
then
One other thing, I was just wondering, since we're including like those different priorities and within our sort of umbrella where we work with governments, providers, parents, do we want to have like a little focus on if it pertains to government or education of government officials, something relating to government, because that's the other sort of umbrella that gaining was founded on?
Mhm.
sure, within the priorities you mean, so whether it's training
Yeah, so
or
that we kind of include the whole gamut.
sounds reasonable to me. What do you think, Jennifer? And anyone else?
Yeah, I definitely, government and policymakers, it's good because we feel like we have a pretty well-developed advisory for them, but there's always more outreach that's necessary and additions to that too.
One other thing I noticed in the comment is someone asked about if we should put perinatal instead of prenatal because perinatal would encompass both parents before they have the child and right after they have the child, or do we really want to keep it called prenatal?
Karen, what do you think?
I think that's a really good point because if we're addressing it like with OB/GYN, we could call it perinatal because we hopefully when they get really busy just postnatally, we don't want it to drop. So
Right.
there could be, a continued sort of effort that started prenatally. So I'm not opposed to that or prenatal and perinatal.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to lose the special nature of the prenatal because we were talking about honest to goodness prenatal, no later than trimester prenatal. And so I
I will,
understand the need for perinatal education, but there's a special need for prenatal education.
but how about prenatal and perinatal awareness then? Starting with the prenatal to highlight it, as you say, Jennifer, and then say perinatal just to,
Mhm.
does that work for you? Or do you want them to be separate? I think it might be a little confusing if it was separate. I will say that.
Mm, okay. Yeah. Well, we've got people work on perinatal at the Screen Time Action Network, and then the people in New Jersey are working on perinatal. So there is a discrete difference between them. So there's also something that came up by Annalise and Amit, and maybe somebody else said, what about training for parents that their kids have been identified with developmental problems associated with screen time, especially should they have their own training? And here's where people have already developed some training for those parents. So it would be amazing if we could pull it together or use somebody's,
So
specifically on that.
we might
Um,
be talking about training and intervention. We might be talking about intervention, right?
I think that's what Annalise was talking, and Amit too.
So
He's on the call.
perhaps intervention in the infant toddler age.
Hmm. Now
So,
the AP would call that problematic media use, but you call it ASD-like symptoms that are
well, no, we could
associated with
say
screen time.
problematic media use because we don't want to isolate it to one, if there's language delay or something else. But yeah, that's a category that's very important and it doesn't get a lot of attention. I mean, people talk about educating the parents, but they don't really talk as much about intervention. and strategies. And maybe that would be an important focus. I think that is an important focus. And maybe by having a category, we attract a little more attention to that.
So would parental training and intervention be the right name of that? Or do you just want to say intervention? Or
Um,
parental education and intervention?
Parental education.
for problematic screen use or something like that. So it's a
And intervention.
Right,
yeah.
intervention.
Not
And
that you don't
and
think you have to say parental, although it is parental, most of the time would be parent training.
but for the problematic media use. So we're isolating this population, infant toddlers with problematic media use, and then strategies or education or intervention.
When it first came up, we were saying for new parents, parents with special needs, or parents that are having issues with problematic media use. Do we want to amend that since we have the pre and perinatal awareness? Do we want to take the new parents out of this next priority? Maybe it'd be helpful for me to share again, and then we'll move on. I know that
Carol,
we have
good
to
to
move
see you.
on, Jennifer.
Okay.
So this is what I have so far for the.
Yeah. Yeah, Jody, you can type it in there, and I'll say this while you're typing. Jody is pointing out that tech companies are starting to use problematic media use as sort of a defense. I don't know.
So is there a better terminology?
Oh. And what about just
Yes, can
struggling with?
I? Sorry, guys, I'm jumping in here late. Yes, there's a better language, so we don't use the AAP language. That's funny that Jody and I were just thinking that at the same time. Um,
I
Jennifer, do you
think
want
we
me to
need to
say who
come
I?
up with alternate. I
Well,
don't want to use that at all because that's their way of skating around persuasive design.
so I need to finish that definition sheet where we're going to stop, this whole stop feeding the beast using the industry language. But as you all were talking, an idea, because we were talking about a health harming product exposure. So we could say problematic media product exposure. Because we're talking about a product exposure the same way we're talking about, right, like cigarettes or another product. So that's just some way to tweak it is really calling it product exposure versus use, because use is like, is the baby using it or is the baby being exposed to a product? So I don't know if anybody wants to think or build on that framing.
Yeah, we
I like
mentioned.
that because
Go
so I
ahead,
was just
Jenny.
going to say because it makes the problem the product instead of the use, which puts
Mm-hmm.
the onus on the product more than I agree. The use implicitly blames the user versus this makes it more clear that the product is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting.
Amit?
Ma'am, why can't we like we can use that AEC model also, like low tech, no tech, low tech, and high tech kind of thing. We can use something like that, like from the initial things like the where from starting all those AEC kind of model. Are you getting what I'm trying to say?
I mean, you hear the low tech, no tech. I'm not familiar with that model. And
And basically, basically this is a model used by generally by the special educators,
Mhm.
like AAC, augmented and C. So in that model, we use three things. One is no tech, second one is low tech, and third one is high tech. In no tech, we are using just like basic pictures, and in low tech, we using picture as well as some kind of tablet only, not a typical video kind of thing. And in high tech, we using like just Jennifer told us in the beginning that using like doing the video call is not comes under screen time, so that's come under high tech. So we can frame something like that also in these models?
Uh,
Is it possible?
I have a question. Is the language that you're trying to define now for professionals within the group, or is this for parents? Because I would say that then you can use a different set of language when you're talking among ourselves than when you are interfacing or interacting with patients or with
Yeah.
parents or with whoever the intended audience is. So I would question that, and I would also caution that whatever language is used, then it's not judgmental. I find that a lot of the language surrounding some of these topics can make parents feel extremely guilty about a lot of the things that they are being exposed to. And we know that guilt is not a healthy thing. It doesn't work either. So it's like we want to be partners with parents. We want to be supportive of parents. We don't want this top-down approach in which I'm the one who knows it all and I'm here to tell you and you don't know, and pointing the finger. The pointing finger approach I don't agree with, and I always try to be very mindful of the way we share information with families because that can either open the door or close the door.
Is something of the term that was mentioned, does that strike you as more judgmental? I thought the use to product kind of made it less judgmental because it's less about them using it and more about how the product itself is problematic. But is there problematic media product exposure? Does that rub you the wrong way?
But again, I ask, what is that being, are you planning to use that phrase with parents? Because that to me, it seems like high level. In my experience, I always find that in it, we should all try to find the simplest way to say things. Because in using some of these words, sometimes we lose the audience. You know what I mean? I participate in another group and we always talk about what is the most living room language we can use to communicate these ideas.
So what,
Uh,
do you have an idea?
I don't have an idea
Okay.
now, but I want to encourage all of us to think because sometimes we use it with among us all the time. We don't stop to question it because we know what it means or we have a better understanding where we're coming from. But then when using some phrases with parents, we might lose them. We might lose them from the beginning with some of these phrases. It's just something I have learned along the way to always have health literacy in mind concepts and how to keep it simple.
Yes,
So
I
for
well,
the this questionnaire, I'm thinking more that it's internal, but if it's on the website, then it's accessible to anybody that accesses the website. So
Should
I
it be on
mean,
the website?
well, that's what I'm wondering, like, how will we access this? Is there a way, is there member access to anything? Or how would we access this? So somebody fills this out, and then how do other people see it?
Um, I can make Jennifer was going to include the link just in every update email, just at the bottom, like if you have a new happening to report, put it here. And then she could also link to the spreadsheet where the form, again, automatically creates a spreadsheet, which is nice for keeping track of everything that people have reported. And then I can make that just like anyone with the link can be a viewer. The other option is we have to make a Google group, but if people are just viewing the spreadsheet output, then we can just make it anyone with the link can be a viewer.
So for the purposes of this, it's internal, it's not seen by parents. That's the answer I think Claudia was looking for.
mhm. Yeah, she's also suggesting not using certain terminology. I totally 100% agree. And I think we're going to be struggling with that at the Screen Time Action Network in this kit to try to say things that aren't judgmental and they're also very simple. And this is internal. Whatever this thing that Lauren is so wonderful to set up is definitely on our side.
Although I do like Alora's point, whether you're talking to parents or not, because we talk a lot about problematic media use,
Yeah.
and arguably the problem is the product. And so I think that that's a good point. And I also appreciate your point, Claudia, of making it a simple term that doesn't sound complicated and full of jargon. So yeah, something for us all to think about. If anyone has genius comes up with the right term, please email Jennifer.
Well,
And I
another just easy fix there. If media product is too like abstract, then just say screen. Like if you're going to use the word problematic, just say problematic screen exposure because the screen is still the product that we're talking about fundamentally.
Well,
Um,
digital device is another way to say that too, though.
screen
yeah.
is faster though,
Mhm.
as far as
Because
internal.
there's so many non-screen products are coming out for AI soon.
Mhm.
That's
That's
true.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think there's actually been something written about this, and I need to find it so we can recirculate it. Um, that the Academy of Pediatrics is using problematic, the one they were problematic media use. They're using that. And actually, I saw that exact same language in the internal meta documents that leaked, that they meta specifically wanted people to say problematic media use instead of addiction because
Right.
and then the AAP has this whole thing about how using the word addiction is bad. Dr. Anna Lemke, the expert witness who testified, will beg to argue. Um, and so Meta is trying to get away from that language, and it's so interesting and curious that the Academy of Pediatrics is like word for word using what Meta is suggesting. But again, I think we can just circulate where I found that document there where there was that sort of synthesis of that sort of inappropriate harmony between our trusted doctor messengers and Meta. That's a whole other story.
Yeah, that would be
While
interesting.
while you're talking sort of about the AAP, and Jennifer introduced that they talk about the holistic approach, including the views of the tech companies. The committee is heavily composed of individuals that are involved with the tech companies, are paid consultants by the tech companies. I think that's problematic in itself, and is a conflict when they're, trying to advocate for the children, yet they're consultants for the tech companies.
Right. And that's
Believe.
why I was talking about the language that they're choosing. They're
Yeah.
backwards. They say things backwards. They launder the words, and it's very disappointing to see
And
what the
now they're
agency is doing.
confusing the recommendations directly.
Absolutely confusing it. Oh my gosh. Anyway, sorry, I'm trying not to get too upset
Um,
about it.
I
Um,
know we're way over now, so I would like to let you move on. Should I just leave problematic media product exposure because it's internal, or would you like me to change it to screen and then we can move along?
well, since it's eternal, I'd like you to leave it as product because it includes non-screen devices.
And I'm sorry, but I have to jump off to another meeting, but thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, great to see
Okay.
you, Karen.
Yeah, we're going to propose that March 25th date or whatever it is. We'll get to the slide in a second. Okay, Lauren, thank you very much for your help, and we
Yes,
will talk soon about continuing this wonderful process of getting that stuff up so people can take advantage of it
great.
online. And let's see, I will share my screen again briefly. There is another wonderful volunteer who may create a map for us of where we are located in the world. And so that would be great. I can report on that next time. And then the blog kind of skeleton is up on the website. And we talked about that last time. So this is what it looks like right now. It has a little logo called the Gaining Feed, and it can have news in it. And so we're developing that. And Ahmed is on the call, and he is saying that he'll help out and add some content to it. So by next meeting, we'll have a little more idea of what this blog looks like and what the characteristics are of things that people can post. But I'm hoping people will contribute to this feed. Go ahead, Amit.
Ma'am, like I have a question, like how can I write a blog on this? Like if I wrote down some of the blogs regarding the screen time issue, and how
Mhm.
can a parent
Mhm.
uh, avoid that, or how what will be the healthy screen use? So how
Mhm.
can I post it, or should
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
send it to you on
Yeah.
mail?
Send it to me.
Okay, okay,
Yep. And I will talk about how it's going to be posted. I can certainly
okay.
post it, but we can talk about whether you want to become a participant in the posting of other people's content too. So yes, definitely if you got something, if you look at the piece that I wrote, it's pretty short. So you may want to start with a bit of a shorter one, or perhaps make it a three-part series or something like that. So it's not too long, but whatever you do, just send it to me. I'm happy to have you contributing.
Definitely, ma'am.
Okay, great. So the next steps, we don't have a lot of people still online, but whether we should form work groups for the priorities, and also whether we should ask people in an email to if they want to join the priorities, the efforts. And then we just talked about a form that Lauren may she's going to create that people can actually put stuff into the reference repository. And then I'll work on the parameters for the blog posts. And then I wanted to ask if you think we should somehow formally request being on that AAP advisory group um, to to just participate in it. So, and then before we lose everybody, we're looking at Thursday, March 19th is our next meeting at 2 p.m. EDT. So, you can talk about that too. So I'm going to stop
Okay.
sharing and see if anybody has anything to say about our next steps. And a couple of new people have joined. I'm sorry, the time differences really can be a problem trying to figure out
That's what I was like,
when do these
11:30.
meetings start? Oh my gosh, I know we got daylight savings time starting soon too. Um,
Like for me, it's 12 o'clock already.
yeah. Oh no. And I know the next one's not going to be any easier because we were going to suggest 2 p.m. to make it because Miriam can hardly ever show up, and I'm glad she was here today. She had to run because it's really still a funny time of day for her. So I apologize, Amit, and I'm glad you're here and thank you for your
No, no
devotion.
problem, no issue.
Oh my gosh. Does anybody have any comments about our participation and how to get other people in gaining to participate? Like, I could ask them, simply to reply to the email or maybe put it in Lauren's form or something like that. Any thoughts?
I think
Ma'am,
one
I have a feedback basically. Like we can also like after formalizing all this Google form, we can also convert it into like more of a Indian population friendly, like for tier two and tier three cities, not just the metro cities.
Mm. How
Like I
would you
can help
convert it?
in
Would you
that
say?
also.
Okay, you could help
Ma'am,
with that?
I'll help in that. I'll help in that.
Are they not able to use Google Forms? It's kind of nice to have
And
everything in one place.
they'll able to use the Google form, but see the difference is in tier two and tier three cities is the like complexity of the language.
Oh, so just simplifying the language.
Yep, yep,
Oh,
yep.
yeah, that would be great.
That's why I just suggesting that AAC model, augmented alternate communication for like no tech, low tech, and high tech. So okay, I'll just figure it out. Like how can we first we have to formalize this
Mhm,
Google form. Only after that we can convert it
mhm.
more simplified.
Can you put a link in the chat about what this AAC is? Because I'm not that familiar with it.
Ma'am, I'll send it on email.
Okay,
I'll mail you.
okay. I'll share it with Lauren so we know more about that.
Ma'am, can you add me on that
You can
AAP
edit
group also?
directly. Sorry.
Like, can you add me on that AAP group? Lauren, Jennifer also like talking about.
The AAP group?
Yeah.
Let's see. Was it something we were discussing? What specifically are you talking about?
All the recent things is already happening in that AP kind of thing. So that's like it will be much
Okay.
easy for me to just collect it from one place and then
Mm-hmm.
use it. Like for blog and
Okay.
all those things.
Well, we have information in the PowerPoint and the transcript of this. So I don't know exactly. I can in our email, I'm going to share the toolkit, the policy statement, and the technical statement. Is that what you'd like to see?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. All right. That'll be in the email to follow up. And then you
Okay.
can email directly about if you have any other interests. And then when we get the form set up, you can maybe click on something to get involved in that way. So we'll try to get it together so we can include you well. And then I can talk to you offline about the blog.
Okay.
What do we think about trying to reach out to AAP and ask them if we can be on this consensus in this consensus group? Is that a good idea? Anybody want to
Mm,
say that? I see Kristen's nodding.
I mean, yeah, I think
Was
anytime you can get involved is definitely a great idea. Was
Mhm.
that all doctors, all pediatricians who were on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Some
it
of,
would be interesting to get one of our pediatricians to make the
uh,
ask and have it documented that they're told no. And I mean, right, this isn't the first time. We've been trying to do this dance for 10 years now.
yeah.
So,
mhm.
I mean, yeah.
No, Karen's not on here anymore, but we went ahead and asked to be a contributor to the actual reports I just told you about, and they didn't want to hear from us. However, I do want to say that autism was mentioned in this, and we were trying to talk to them just a little bit about the developmental effects of screen time in babies, and they have about the developmental effects in teenagers. So it's at least it's I don't know. They're using the word and not being afraid to use it. Um, but
Kathy Masseri is joining us. I know she's a retired pediatrician, but that is good
she is
timing. I think she just joined.
we have
So
to look at our ranks and see who right. And I'm so glad Kathy's here. And
Jody also is. Jody and Kathy are my partners in crime. Jody just said, great idea trying to get on the committee. Yeah, I mean, somebody can ask.
yeah,
Somebody
it
can
could be
always ask.
Karen.
Jody and
Actually,
Kathy.
I think Karen. Oh, because Karen's not a pediatrician and we've already been rebuffed once. Okay. I think we should probably find somebody who's, I'm going to look at our ranks and see if we have anybody else besides our very newest members to see if we have somebody else. I know Rob Meter's in Canada. He's not, it's got to be, I think it has to be someone in the US.
I think that'd be helpful.
Okay, so that's an important to do to find that out. And we'll be
Ma'am,
proactive because they said we want a consensus. They're like, okay, good. We want to be on it. And you're right, Laura, we should get a record if we're not allowed to be on it.
And I'm sorry I joined so late. There's like 3 concurrent meetings at this time.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say? Where did Karen have that information about how the people that produced that most recent thing had the industry connections? She just
Laura,
knows
I'm not,
that.
yeah, I think she might just know that. If you look at them, you can see that some of them have presented at the Family Online Safety Institute conferences and things like that.
Okay. Yeah.
And so yeah, but she doesn't, I'm not sure she has any really hard and fast stuff, but we can ask her, find out. So any other thoughts? I do want to talk about the date for a second for our next meeting. Let me see if there's any more in the chat that I should see. Okay. Yeah. All right. And yeah, hello to people who are showing up really late. I'm sorry about time changes and everything. There will be a recording of the meeting. I was not recording on the whole AAP section at the beginning or any of the news. I'm going to try to re-record that because I think it's important for people to see it. Amit, go ahead.
Ma'am, can we onboard some of like occupational therapists and speech language pathologists also?
We can. Lauren, we had talked about the map and whether if we click on a dot on the map, then maybe everybody from India comes up and everybody, they could see each other and that sort of thing. But
Well, I
our
suggested
problem,
the map and connected you to Matt, but I'm not technical. I don't know how to make the map. Did you talk to
okay.
Matt about that idea?
Okay, we'll talk to
Because he
Matt.
would be the one who would know how to do that, not me.
Okay.
But we are going to do it together so that hopefully I can learn a little bit about how one does create such a map.
So we just thought about that, Amit, and yes, you should ask anybody you want to participate. You can be their leader or, report to them if they can't all show up. You can share emails with them. You can take pieces out of the email or whatever. You can form your own committee or movement or, group that's associated with gaining. So we are a springboard almost for other people to act in their own countries. So you should feel free to get creative and do what you need to do. Kristen, go ahead.
Just quick question. Do you have anybody from Healthy Start in the group?
We don't.
Okay.
And it would be nice to have some of those established group, people.
I'm local Healthy Start,
Oh, okay.
in
Great.
Florida, in Palm Beach County.
Mm-hmm.
So I can reach out to somebody at the state level for Florida, but I was just curious if you had connections to Healthy Start at all yet. Okay.
Not yet. No, and that's wonderful. Do you know Christine, who's with the Florida Association for Infant Mental Health?
Yes, I go to those meetings. There's a meeting, I think, this coming Monday.
Good. I'm glad you're going to it because
Yeah.
you're a stepping stone between our groups. And she's the one who might do the training the trainers
Okay.
thing. And she also would like to start a movement in Florida about this. And so
Mhm.
knowing you're there is really, really helpful. So keep an ear out on Monday and you can even talk to her and say, hey, I just went to the gaining meeting. And she might, I don't know, maybe she'll talk about possibly doing an awareness campaign in the state of Florida.
Mhm. Yeah, I have some thoughts and ideas. I'm really connected in Palm Beach County to prenatal to age 5, but also trying to connect to Healthy Start State. Because
Mhm.
if they could add it to their curriculum, that would be, I think, great.
Well,
Prenatal and postnatally.
okay. You mean Healthy Start?
Healthy Starts curriculum, yeah, when they meet with the in-home visiting nurses.
So this is why we have those two priorities. And so that would be actually priority number one. And the
Hmm.
Florida Association for Infant Health, would you be willing to kind of if this gets together to be kind of a
Yeah,
part of it?
yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you so much.
Kristen, I'm sorry, can I interject? Do you know already Jill Coleman and Rebecca in Palm Beach County?
Those names sound really familiar. What agencies
They've
are
been
they
doing a lot
connected?
of advocacy. They're volunteer moms. They've been doing a lot of advocacy around phone-free schools and sort of digital products and education.
Okay, I might not know them. I think I was thinking of somebody else, but that
I'll
does
put,
not sound familiar to me. But I'm happy to connect with them.
I'll put their emails in the chat real quick
Mhm.
if you want to grab them. I could
Yep.
just as another local place people to amplify with that have a big net in Palm Beach County. So
Mhm.
they just went to the Paula Poundstone show last weekend there.
Okay, great.
I didn't hear about that.
She was in Palm Beach. She's coming to Vermont next weekend.
Okay. Well, so Ahmed, I will talk to uh, Matt, who's might develop the map, and trying to figure out how can we have a non-public way of clicking on the map on your country and then having you be able to have sort of a private group with the people from your country. And that's kind of where we're going. And we're just beginning to talk about it. But I think it's nice for people from their own country to really be able to communicate better if they can.
Well, we didn't
Definitely.
have time for it, Jennifer, but I'll add to, I do think that sounds kind of tricky because we were going to have the map on the website, so having it be private
Yeah.
sounds very complicated. But we had also talked about just like a member contact form for those members that do want to like have their email available to other members so that if there are some in your country or your state, that you have a easy way to contact them without making Jennifer be the middle woman every time.
Yeah. Or Lauren, maybe just each country might have a little discussion area. Think about it,
They could.
because we were talking about having a contact form for all of our members, and there could be a nation, they could be almost separated by nation, or grouped by nation, and then maybe they could have a little offline discussion board that they have with each other.
Yeah, my inclination would be to let everyone be on there because sometimes it might not be someone from your country, but you could have a really similar interest. So if they are working on a research project that's really relevant to what you're doing, it could be helpful to be able to connect with them even though they're not in your country, but certainly having the country information because a lot of people might be most interested in connecting with people in
Well,
their
it's
country.
almost like a different thing. It's almost like there would be that, but then there would also be another area where they could communicate just with themselves and not have to read through everybody's messages.
But that would be something they would create on their own,
No,
or so it's sort of
we'd probably
offline.
have it. We would somehow have a directory and then have maybe nations down there who are 42 member nations, and then maybe there could be a little discussion document where they would be able to just click on their nation, um, and maybe have at the top members and their contact information, and then have a way they could communicate with each other. Just spitball.
Can we do something like on the website only? Like there's a if I go on global members, there's a list of different countries. We can do like just some of the already shown like Canada for Canada, someone else, England for someone. So we can do something like that also. Like if the person is from that any specific country, they can just tap on that country name, and then the responsible person can appear in that there also. Like just what Lauren said.
Although we're not sure everyone wants to appear on a public-facing website. It's part of the issue, which is why we were going to do this opt-in contact form that would be available to members, but not necessarily blasted to the entire world. I think
Okay,
that might be a
okay.
conversation for another day to get more input from the group on to see what other folks feel comfortable with. But yeah, I do
Mhm.
think that allowing group members to connect um, would be really valuable. Hopefully people would take it up.
Yep. Okay, good. Wonderful. All right, so let's just look at the date again and see what people think about this date. Uh, Thursday, March 19th at 2 o'clock, which allows a very early time for New Zealand people. It's still extremely late for India, so I apologize for that, but we're trying to just push it a little bit later and see what we can do. Or should we wait until April? This is a day that I know Karen's available. And so I think that's a plus for doing it in March, which is exactly a month from today, versus it would have to be 2 months from now. We have a lot going on. Can we have a show of hands for whether to grab that date for the 19th of March? We usually are kind of a 4 to 6 week cadence. Do we have a hand up for March 19th. No, Kristen can't make it. Some of us can. Who else is on here? Who's that? Sahilu, can you hear me? Okay,
Yes.
the raised hands.
Hi, Jennifer.
Do you have a raised hand? Let me see.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
you can make it. All
Well,
right.
for me, it sounds good for me. No problem with me. But I have a comment regarding our time usage. I mean, as far as it's just a comment. As far
Okay.
as we set a schedule, I think every one of us must. It's not a must actually. Every one of us uh, should, what can I say? It will be better if we really spend this time for this, I mean, webinar or for this session. Do you get
Mhm.
me? People are, going without finishing. I see, I observe people. I know that life is very difficult and there are many appointments. I can understand. But when at the very beginning, when we say that the time is the day or the schedule is scheduled, then we have to give our time for this session. Living in the middle of the session may interrupt our thoughts, etc. So I think that's a bit just a comment, not actually it's a kind comment.
Mhm. Yeah, well, Karen has tried to get us to stick to an hour. A lot of people did leave at the hour time. But you see, we're going past an hour and a half here, and we've done pretty well actually this time in covering that everything we're supposed to cover. Do you think we should restrain it to an hour, Sihilo, to get people not to leave?
I think, yeah, I mean, if it is a mess that we have to leave, of course, if it is beyond our control, then we may ask a permission and leave the session. But when many people are leaving, then it interrupts our way of thinking, and it disturbs a sort of
Yeah,
disturbance it may create.
right. Well, we hope that people will try to organize their time so they can get there. I'm just so happy that they showed up. We had a pretty good group today. We had about 20 people,
Yes,
so
sure,
a lot.
sure, sure.
But but I
Very good.
appreciate your comments, and we'll keep thinking about it. Um,
Okay, my thought on that is just like if you schedule the meeting for an hour and a half, that allows me to block an hour and a half
oh, okay.
versus, and then you could, like, if we are done early, we're done early. But
Hmm.
if you feel like it's going to always go over an hour, if you only schedule an hour, people can't like just change
Mm,
their schedule all the time to allow for more time than that was blocked.
okay.
I personally always like kind of overschedule versus underschedule when I'm scheduling staff. So
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. Sounds like, yeah, I mean, that could be a next step to say we're going to try to keep this meeting to an hour and a half. And then people can try to block their schedule. Um,
Good,
okay,
good.
great.
Also, one thing that could be worth considering, I mean, we are doing it on the same day, which is a Thursday. When you do it, you said normally 4 to 6 weeks. Something I found is if you do it like at the same day every month, the third Thursday of the month, it can be helpful for people in scheduling.
Yes, it's always a delicate dance because I'm trying to maximize Karen's ability to get to the meeting and mine. And so
Yep,
I
yep.
appreciate everyone's flexibility in that we have a new meeting date every time. Maybe we'll get to a point where we could do be third Thursday or something like that. Plus, we also are trying to alter the time of it so different people can show up. So I appreciate it, Lauren. It's an interesting coincidence. The next meeting is going to be on the same date next month. It's because it's a funny time with our calendar at the moment, but that's going to start changing a little bit. Um, Sihila, do you still have your hand up? I want to make sure
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
okay.
I'm sorry.
And Amit, did you have any further thing to say? No. Okay. Um, all right. Well, then I think we should keep it for April 19th. March 19th, because Karen can be there, and Claudia was actually going to give us her feedback on that parent card, so we could keep it moving forward. And then I can report on the couple meetings that are happening in terms of the prenatal toolkit and that sort of thing. So it's let's keep it on March 19th at this point. And any other things to say before we wrap up? Okay. All right. Well, thank you for sticking with us to the end here. And I will I'll get these materials out to you as soon as I can for you to look at and share.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Has
Thank you
been very
again,
helpful.
Lauren. Lauren,
Sure.
thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.